in the 92 region again. We had seen a high in the fall around October of 25 last year, where Bitcoin went all the way up to 126, and we went all the way down to like 82. I think we were in the 82s, 81s, but today we are at 92,156, trading, almost hitting 93. We went all the way up to 92,964. This is Charlene live on the radio, 88.5 FM. Charlene, your girl with the smart beat. 88.5 FM, The Beat with Charlene. I am so excited to bring to you today information about Bitcoin and where we are with the technology. So, a lot of times people just want to talk about what the price of Bitcoin is, which it's 92,000 US dollars for one Bitcoin today. But I want you to get into the technology side of Bitcoin. And yesterday I was talking about the energy that goes into the Bitcoin, the energy used to mine and support the Bitcoin network. The value of that energy is what gives Bitcoin its actual value. So the intrinsic value of Bitcoin comes from the energy that it uses to generate Bitcoin and to support the network. There are so many things to cover about what Bitcoin is and what Bitcoin can do. And I want you to get grounded in the technology that creates the Bitcoin. The technology is called blockchain. So Bitcoin runs on a blockchain network, decentralized, meaning anybody with a computer anywhere in the world can run the Bitcoin technology on their computer or on a device. It could be an iPad, a laptop, a whole data center. Data centers, data centers are now the major processing or networks for Bitcoin. It started off with individuals, but now big major corporations like Mara Holdings, which is holding 53,250 Bitcoins on their balance sheet, right behind none other than MicroStrategy. They have 672,000 Bitcoin, publicly disclosed companies. Now, there are individuals from earlier on when Bitcoin first came out in 2009 was the first Bitcoin block. January 3 was the first Bitcoin block, 50 blocks or 50 Bitcoins in one block. That was so a lot of people have thousands of Bitcoin. We don't know who those people are, right? Some of the people from earlier on, like the Satoshi wallet, has many, many thousands of Bitcoins. So now we're in this mad race where corporations and big companies are wanting to get into Bitcoin and adding Bitcoin as an asset on their balance sheets. But before we get into what these big corporations are doing, I want to go back to the fundamentals that I cover, the 21 fundamentals that I cover about Bitcoin. And today, I want to break down this idea of how Bitcoin can actually sustain the energy grid, the electric grid, the power grid. Now, if you have know someone that's running Bitcoin or that's mining Bitcoin, they probably are getting that energy from a power company. Every one of us, whether it's our phones or appliances or mining Bitcoin, we're using the same electricity. Now, the electricity that comes from the power company, that is the main source of powering the Bitcoin network. But there's also there are cases where people are generating their own electricity, whether it's like El Salvador, you're getting electricity from geothermal, that is the energy coming from the earth, from the temperature of the earth, where you can generate electricity directly from the steam that comes out of the geothermal reservoirs. So that's one way. People are also using excess energy that's already being generated, that's not being used on the power grid. And people are also using solar panels, or they're generating electricity directly from solar systems, and using because solar systems generate direct current, right? So we can have to convert that into alternate current that we're used to run the Bitcoin mining. So people have been doing that, their own solar generation, but majority, over 90% of the energy that's powering the Bitcoin network comes from the power company. So today I want to talk about how Bitcoin is actually a methodology of sustaining the grid, sustaining the electric grid. So in electricity and distribution of electricity, there is a method where a substation would collect all the excess energy that's not being distributed or is not being delivered to households or businesses when they're like at nighttime. And all that energy that's coming out of the generation plant, out of the electric power station, all that energy is still flowing. It's not like once you turn off the lights, the electricity doesn't stop. Once you turn off everything and you go to bed, all that excess energy goes into the ground. It's called grounding. So if you understand that electricity flowing from the power company is constant, it doesn't stop unless, of course, there's a power outage from the generation plant. But you have, break it down for you. There's generation, there's distribution, and then there's consumption of energy. So in the distribution of the energy, yes, you can turn things on and off. In the generation of the energy, once you start generating, you're not going to be turning up or turning down your generation of electricity. You're going to have what is called the base load. That's always going to be flowing, whether or not someone is using it at the end of the electric grid or at the end of the power line. That electricity is still coming out. So every single light pole that you see holding up the wires and delivering electricity, there's also a grounding mechanism set wherever there's a light pole, or you see transmission boxes or transmitter boxes up on those light poles to kind of monitor how much energy is being used at homes and businesses versus how much energy is coming from the generation plant. And oftentimes there's more energy coming than what is being utilized. Now, power plants and electric companies, often they're like, oh, we're running out of energy, we got to generate more energy. This is, I don't actually trust that information, because I know that they can increase the base load. But a lot of electric companies, they do not want to increase the base load, because, say, for example, it's not like, when you turn something up a little bit, they would have to do so much to increase the amount of electricity that they are that they need to generate at the generation plant. So what they try to do is they try to let you customers use less, right? Instead of them generating more. It's not because they can't generate more. It's because it costs more to generate the next level up. They'd rather just keep that base load every single day, night or day. So whatever they're doing at in the daytime, if the base load still needs to be there, but there's not enough customers using electricity during those off-peak hours. So most companies don't want to spend the time and the resources to generate less energy during off-peak hours, and they don't want to spend the time and money to increase the amount of supply of electricity when there is higher demand. So what they do is they force customers to shut things off, and then when you're not using the energy, they just ground that excess energy that is coming out of the base load. If nobody's there to use it, it goes into the ground. Now, here's where Bitcoin mining comes in. Just like on a small scale, it happens, it's also good on a large scale. Oh my gosh, Bitcoin is 92.9. We just hit 92.9, 92,900 for Bitcoin trading now. I'm just watching the charts while I'm sharing with you on the radio, 88.5 FM, The Beat. This is Charlene with the Smart Beat. Oh my goodness. I just want to focus on my topic, but I know I have to give announcements. I have to do sponsors. And so let's jump over to our website, 885thebeat.com, 885thebeat.com. Here's the number to text if you want to join the conversation, if you want to participate, you want to get in on the deals, free stuff, and hook up with our sponsors. Here's the phone number, 649-441-8805. This is Charlene live on 88.5 FM, The Beat, 649-441-8805. Broadcasting on the radio. My name is Charlene. I have a couple sponsors here. I want to jump over to Keika's Lifestyle. Let me not do that. I don't want to play music. Okay. Our radio station plays music when I'm not on the air. So here we go. Keika's Lifestyle. If you want to go out on a private yacht, you want to bring your friends, you want to have a company party. I know people who are in Turks and Caicos Islands, they have company parties, they have retreats, they want to take their businesses, want to take their employees out, they want to take their customers out. Get on a private yacht and go out with your friends or your family. If you want to get married on the yacht, we also can hook that up, decorate the boat for you. The other day we had somebody's 40th birthday party on the boat. We put balloons up, we have cake, we got banners and happy birthday, and everybody on board. We even made a postcard for them, personal postcard signed by all their friends on board. So hook up with Keika's Lifestyle Private Yacht Charters. Here's the number, 649-441-8805. The website, 885thebeat.com. All our sponsors are listed there. Now let me get back into my Bitcoin stuff. I am so eager to be on the air as the Bitcoin is pumping right now. So it's fitting that I cover this with you. Bitcoin is pumping. Now, if you ever hear someone talking about Bitcoin or crypto, you can be a part of that conversation now because you're listening to Charlene. So the electricity, as I was saying, that comes from the electric company, that comes out of the grid, that they're not using when everything is off, especially at nighttime or off peak hours. That electricity, instead of putting it in the ground, in Texas, the United States, a lot of Bitcoin mining companies are set up just to take that excess energy when nobody else is using that. So it's called curtailment. So the electric company would curtail or ground the electricity that nobody's using. And this is on and off throughout the day as people turn things off. The energy doesn't stop, right? It's still there. So when you flip it back on, you expect the electricity to be there. So Bitcoin mining computers do not need to be on 24/7 because there are so many other computers running the Bitcoin node all around the world, globally, everywhere on the planet where there's a human being with a computer, with internet, somebody's running the Bitcoin code. I'm looking at the map, and every single country in the world, someone is running now the Bitcoin network on every continent, in every village in Africa, in the Caribbean, in the United States, major South America. Everybody's running Bitcoin. Russia, Asia, China is about 37% of the whole Bitcoin mining is coming out of China right now. So everywhere in the world, you can basically take a break and turn off your computer and not run Bitcoin 24/7. So electric companies now can benefit for stabilizing the grid. The word is stabilizing, right? Stabilizing the energy that they have to generate, and they have to pump in the electric grid no matter what. So when there's not enough usage of that electricity, the Bitcoin machines can come online and immediately start absorbing that electricity. Remember, the electricity that goes into mining the Bitcoin, that goes into supporting the Bitcoin network, that value of that electricity globally is what goes in to make up the price that you're seeing Bitcoin traded for. It's not the only thing, but it's the main thing, the value of the energy generating the Bitcoin and supporting the Bitcoin network. The value of that electricity goes into the value of what Bitcoin is, the trading value. Okay, so Bitcoin not just consumes energy. Bitcoin is the only process, is the only manufacturing process. Bitcoin is the only mining process that captures and stores the energy that it uses back into itself. So initially, you could say that Bitcoin really is energy. So Bitcoin is energy. That's my main thesis. That's my main message. The value coming into the $92,000 right now, that's Bitcoin's trading from on the charts live as we speak today. That value, that 92,000, represents a significant amount of electricity worldwide that is being used to run this technology. Can you imagine every time you charge your cell phone, or you charge your iPad, or your tablet, every electricity that goes into that's just used up. That's not the your tablet or your phone is just spending that electricity. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is saving that electricity. The electricity being used is being saved and converted into dollars that you can trade. That's the main thing you need to understand about what Bitcoin is. So Bitcoin has value. And people say, oh, I can't touch it. I like my money that I can touch and feel, and I can see the coins. No, no, no. Remember, electricity, you can't touch it either. You cannot touch the energy coming out of the wall. I mean, you could, but that would be a dangerous situation. So this idea that, oh, I want to touch and feel it. Bitcoin is of no value because you can't touch and feel it. So many things that we use, the very breath, the very air we breathe, we cannot touch it. Can you touch the air? Can you touch the oxygen coming in through your nostrils? No. So do you say then that you're not breathing, or the air that you breathe is of no value? Of course not. The electricity that's running on the lines, the electricity that's powering your homes and your appliances and that's powering your life, can you touch that electricity? Yes, but you will get shocked. The point is, electricity is flowing because you have the lights turned on, and the light's not coming from the sun. These are fabricated lights, manufactured lights. Your phone is running because you see the battery is charged, or when the battery is dead, you need to plug it in again. That electricity exists because you're using it every day. So to understand Bitcoin, you have to understand that the electricity being used by running the Bitcoin software is actually real. The value, the reason why Bitcoin is 92,000 US dollar for one today is because there's that many people around the world connected to the internet, connected to the electricity, connected and running Bitcoin anywhere. And this, anybody can do this. It's not just the big corporations. Anybody who wants to and has access to the internet, to a device, and to electricity, or you generate your own electricity, you could run the Bitcoin software on your computer and you could earn. So you're not just spending electricity. So I'm gonna hit up a couple sponsors, and then I'm gonna explain to you how you can earn Bitcoin as well, and how you can help stabilize the electric grid in your country, in your community, in your neighborhood, off of the substation that's supplying your neck of the woods electricity. There's money to be made mining Bitcoin. Okay, thank you for tuning in. This is 88.5 FM, The Beat, with me, Charlene, the Smart Beat. That's the name of my show. Thank you for joining, whether you're driving or whether you are listening online on social media. I'd like to welcome you to the show. Please take this number down, and you can text me at any time, and you can if you have questions, if you want to add to the conversation, if you want to have a debate about some of the things. I don't really like to debate, but I will hear your point of view and we can discuss the points that you want to bring up. And I know I'm not covering everything, but every day I'll add a little bit more knowledge base to the radio show. Thanks again for tuning in. 88.5 FM, The Beat, with Charlene on the Smart Beat. Okay, Bitcoin as a manufacturing process. We talked about Bitcoin as a technology, it's a software. Now, as a manufacturing process, is the catalyst for reducing energy costs, for reducing electricity costs globally. Why do I say that? Bitcoin can sustain and stabilize the electric grid around the world. In Turks and Caicos, in the Caribbean, in Jamaica, in Florida, in Miami, in Texas, in Salt Lake City, in California, wherever you are, in Africa, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, the Ivory Coast, wherever you want to mine Bitcoin, Russia, China, Singapore, everywhere, people are mining Bitcoin with excess energy. In China, energy is almost free, right? But here's how you can participate. You can hook up to solar, but you can also hook up to the grid. I'm not saying that the cost of electricity, where you're paying for your electricity, is going to go to zero. I'm talking about worldwide. The more people start mining Bitcoin is going to drive energy costs lower, because now we have a mechanism, we have a process to take excess energy and put that energy into Bitcoin. Look up what's happening in Texas. Most of the mining companies, Bitcoin mining in the United States, is coming out of Texas, because Texas has a lot of energy and Texas has its own electric grid, and there are a lot of energy close to the point of generation, because Texas is known for big oil. They have all this oil that they're mining oil, and then they take that oil and create the natural gas and burn the oil to make electricity, and they keep that pumping into the grid. So even when nobody's using electricity, the mine continues, the electricity, the oil continues to flow, the gas continues to flow, and the power plants continue to generate electricity and sending it out in the grid. And all that excess energy, as I mentioned, and as I want you to understand, all that excess energy that's not being used is going into the ground. And so Bitcoin can take on that electricity and not only use that energy, but stores the value of that energy. That's where, okay, if you're calling, I will get back to you. Let me just make sure this, yeah, I know I gave out the number earlier, 649-441-8805. I'm make sure my phone is on silent here so I can finish the show. I will get back to everybody after the show. Go ahead and text me. I've got my phone now on silent. Okay. The value of that energy that you're not using at home or at your office or at your company or at your job or at the store or at the mall or at the movies, all that energy is now currently going in the ground. And if you want to get one of these small devices and start running Bitcoin, it will be negligible. It's just like plugging in another phone, right? Plugging in another phone. How much electricity is that going to cost you? You could be part of a pool of people who are running the network for the Bitcoin and earning small amounts of money to even pay your phone bill, to even contribute back to your electric bill. So if you think about, say your electric bill is $200 a month, you could be earning a small change, maybe $50 to participate in the Bitcoin network and sustaining the network. And that money, of course, it takes negligible amount of electricity unless you're doing a huge, gigantic data center. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about they now have these small devices that you can run as an individual, as part of the pool, and get on with the Bitcoin mining. So Bitcoin is the catalyst. Bitcoin is the stabilizer, the grid stabilization mechanism that, once the electric companies figure out what I'm saying right now, the electric companies are probably out there thinking, oh, this girl is crazy. We're never going to do that. But guess what? If you're in Texas, all the Texas has its own electric grid, and everybody is looking for a way to get money instead of wasting that energy to get paid for all that excess energy that they're generating. So it is already happening. I'm not sharing something with you that I think is going to happen. I'm sharing with you things that I know for a fact many companies, multi-million-dollar companies are doing this. You can go now and take the tidbits that I share with you on the radio and go and look up more information about these things. So I'm not here to kind of like give you the entire book. I'm just going over the contents page, right? I'm going over the summary of the things that you're going to go and research on your own, because I'm just entertaining, right? Radio is for entertainment only. So you're going to take what I'm saying and you're going to go into Google and you're going to ask Google, or you're going to ask Grok, or you're going to ask Chat GPT, hey, is what this crazy girl on the radio talking about? Show me examples of major corporations that are generating electricity or generating Bitcoin or mining Bitcoin and how they're using that electricity. A company just last year made a contract, a power purchase agreement contract with an electric company to mine Bitcoin using their excess energy. And they bought this electricity, this PPA, power purchase agreement, years out, years in advance. Okay. So say this company, they signed a contract. I'm not going to tell you who they are. You can Google it and find it out. And they bought the electricity. You know what price they bought the electricity for? 0.0012. There are 2 zeros after the decimal point. So basically, they're paying 0 per kilowatt hour. So they have to use so many thousands of kilowatts to generate Bitcoin before they even get charged $1. Because what they're basically doing is taking that extra energy that's not being used, and they're pumping it into the Bitcoin mining and adding the value of that energy into Bitcoin trading value. And many companies are starting to do this around the world, setting up big major data centers and going into the electric company and making a deal with the electric company to purchase the excess energy for zero. So the more that occurs, or the more that process is replicated, the cheaper electricity will be for everybody else using that electricity, right? The cheaper it would be, the more people coming onto the grid, and the more energy processes absorbing electricity, just like in China. The reason a lot of people outsource their manufacturing to China is not just because of the metals and the silver and the people and the labor. It's also because of the energy in China is almost 0%, $0, right? It costs so little for the energy because the government of China, they overproduce energy, right? And they give people free energy to manufacture products so they can sell that cheap. You understand? The government in China is not relying on the people for taxes. They actually develop electricity, they develop energy sources that they can give their citizens, and then their citizens use that energy to manufacture, to process, to create products that they sell abroad and make a lot of money. So the taxes that you are being charged for your labor, if your government was genius, they would take the power companies. Like, say, like if the government in Turks and Caicos owned the power company, they could take that power company, give low cost electricity to the residents, so that the residents can start manufacturing. They can start building stuff because they need energy, right? But the cost of energy is so high that it discourages people from doing businesses that uses a lot of energy, that uses a lot of electricity. Bitcoin, on the other hand, is the new frontier. Bitcoin is the new frontier for governments. Look at what's happening in El Salvador. That government is investing in giving electricity at almost very, very low, I think 5 cents a kilowatt hour, so that people can come there to El Salvador and set up Bitcoin mining. A country, you don't need to have like too much infrastructure because you already have a power company. You can generate more electricity, or have this be an attraction for investment, for investors to come in. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. This is Charlene on 88.5 FM, the radio, broadcasting live, and I am taking this time. Bitcoin is trading now at 92,975, 92,975 as we speak on the radio live. 93,190. Oh my gosh, 93,190. We're above 93,000 as we speak. It's jumping, it's moving. Every 5 seconds, I could tell you a different number. But here's the thing that I want to focus on today. I want you to start getting familiar with this whole digital currency, this whole digital assets. Everything's moving towards tokenization and digitization of every single thing. So whether it's government, corporations, businesses, schools, everything's going to be on the blockchain, on a blockchain somewhere. Where paper, the days of recording everything on paper is not necessarily going away, but it's going to be rolled into something called a blockchain network. And so every government processes, your health records, your biographical data, your I think in some European countries, they are already using the chip installed in your finger or your wrist or your palm so when you're going to buy something, everything's tagged. You just swipe your hand. So instead of swiping your phone with your wallet, digital wallet, it's going to be embedded in your body as a biographical chip. So you, like in China right now, you wave your hand, and just by waving, you don't have to tap anything, you don't have to touch anything. You check out of a grocery store by waving your hand over the machine, and it already knows everything you have picked up in your basket. You can't walk out without anything, without paying. Everything in your basket is already tabulated. You wave your hand, and that's your checkout. You're done, and it's billed to your biographical data. So we're rolling into this digital age, and robotics and AI and all of that's coming out. But some people have the chip in your hand, or they have your fingerprint or something that connects you to the blockchain. So we're going to see uh, technology rolled out in the Caribbean, in some of the third world countries, in Africa. It's already big in Asia, Japan, and some places in the United States. They're still holding back, but you will just be waving to get on the airplane and waving to check out at the store, and you're going to be just waving everywhere, flashing your wrist, waving like a beauty queen. I guess you could do a pose with it, like, woohoo, this is me. But thank you for tuning in, everyone. 88.5 FM, 88.5 FM, The Beat, the Smart Beat with Charlene. Here's the number to text, and I'm going to get back to everybody after the show. 649-441-8805. There are also other partners on our website. The trolley, Turk's Tours, they operate a trolley up and down the highway. So you can get on the trolley and do a tour. If you're bored, if you can spend all day on the beach, but once you leave the beach and once you get off the private yacht, you can just sit on a trolley and tour the islands. This is amazing, folks. It's already 2026. It's the new year. Everybody's going out. Still, there's a lot of people on vacation. Some people take their vacation at the end of the year, and some people take their vacation at the beginning of the year, which all falls together, right? The end of one year kind of overlaps with the beginning of another year. So some people started their vacation at the end of 2025, and they're still on vacation and getting ready to go back home in this new year. So you spend 2 years in Turks and Caicos, right? You spend 2025 and 2026. Thank you for coming on. We have some guests. I know it's been different weather conditions, but we have some guests who started their vacation in 25 and are still on vacation in 2026, getting on the private yacht, getting on the tours. If you want to learn more about our sponsors, especially if you want to buy a condo, so you come to the islands and you love the experience and you want a piece of the island for yourself, you can buy a condo. You can also buy property. But the Andes Resort, that's a new resort that's going up. A lot of new resorts going up. The Andes Resort is operated by a friend of mine his name is Matt. And they have the residences at the Andes Resorts that people can buy the condo, and the Andes Resorts management, they will book those condos like Airbnb for you, but book it out for you like a timeshare when you're not actually there. So while you're here, you want to go see Andes Resorts, you want to go look at the residences, give me a text and I'll hook you up. I know the guy that runs the Andes Resort. His name is Matt. He's a friend of mine. He actually comes out on our boat frequently, but here's the number: 649-441-8805. 88.5 FM, The Beat, the Smart Beat with Charlene. Now, I am going crazy because Bitcoin is pumping right now, and that's all I want to talk about. But I know you want to hear about other information. You want to know about other facts and figures. So let's go into this idea that Bitcoin is 21 million, okay? So this is the most known fact about Bitcoin, that it's a limited supply. There are only going to be a maximum of 21 million Bitcoins. Right now, let me look at Coin Market Cap. And CoinMarketCap is a listing of all the crypto coins that everybody has published, known crypto coins. There are millions and millions of crypto coins. The only one that I focus on is really Bitcoin. So here is the in circulation right now. Bitcoin is nearly 20 million. Okay. We only have 21 million. And right now, as we speak, we're already 19.97 million Bitcoin. I'm going to be counting down to see when we get to that 20 million. So let's just say there's only 1 million Bitcoin left. We've already mined 20. So why getting into mining? Why am I talking about mining Bitcoin when there's only a million out of the 21 million left? Well, guess what? The Bitcoin is not only mining for new Bitcoin, it's sustaining the existing. So getting into mining now that we already have nearly 20 million is to sustain that existing supply, that circulating supply that people are trading back and forth between each other. You still, the network and running a node to support the network and running the software to support that network is what keeps Bitcoin going. So it's not that it's going to run out. And furthermore, it will never run out because every 4 years, the amount of Bitcoin in going into, we have the halving every 4 years. So what I'm going to do next time is I'm going to talk about the halvings and how that work and where we're at right now. I think we're under 12 Bitcoins right now. I think last halving was every 4 years. That was 2024 when we had that halving. So you go from 2008 when Bitcoin was launched, and we've had halvings every 4 years since then. Today, I'm not going to get into the halving. I just want to mention it. But the 21 million Bitcoins doesn't mean that Bitcoin's going to run out. It just means that 21 million will be circulated forever and ever once you hit 20 million point 9999999, because it's always going to be cut in half. The last halving will be continually cutting half every 4 years. So you'll never get to that last Bitcoin. Okay, you'll always have a fraction of Bitcoin that people are mining for. And at that point, Bitcoin could be worth millions and millions of dollars for one. Today we're at 93,000. We started off the show at 92. So thank you. Sometimes during my show the price drops but right now it's pumping. So we're at 93,000 for one Bitcoin on the charts. So how do we divide up this 21 million? Everybody in the whole world, there are 8 billion people on the planet. Everybody can own a little bit of Bitcoin. I know some people have millions of Bitcoin. I know some people have thousands of Bitcoin. I think Michael Saylor is trying to get to 1 million. Right now, Michael Saylor is at 672. Michael Saylor is at 672 Bitcoins. They 672,000 Bitcoins is the highest rated amount. Now, how do you get some Bitcoin? You don't have to get an entire Bitcoin at 92,000. You can put $100, $200, $500, $1,000, whatever it is. The thing that I focus on is not how go out and buy Bitcoin. I want you to understand the basics about Bitcoin before you go into it. And I try to answer the question. So a lot of times the topic that I'm covering is because yesterday a lot of people wanted to hear about the 21 million during the previous show. Today I'm covering the 21 million. So right now, like I said, we are at nearly 20 million, 19.97 million. The thing that I want you to think about is not that it's going to run out. It's not going to run out. Okay. The thing that you have to understand is that will be kept, that 21 million will be circulated forever. The difference that's the point that's going to change is once the electric companies, like I talked about earlier, once the power company finds out or figures out that Bitcoin can help them stabilize their existing electric grid and their existing power supply, they will jump into mining Bitcoin. Every power company will not only be supplying electricity for you to mine Bitcoin, very soon the power companies themselves will be setting up Bitcoin mining or partnering with Bitcoin mining companies like they do in Texas. Now in Texas, Bitcoin mining companies and the power company work together. They work together to stabilize the electric grid and bring the electricity that's not being delivered to anybody going into the Bitcoin pipeline. So now it's only a matter of time for others to recognize that this is a thing. This is not just this girl on the radio, 88.5 FM, talking about it. Most power companies around the world are starting to move towards Bitcoin as a grid stabilization because they realize that this energy that they have, that they're not using most of the time, the curtailed energy could be monetized. So electric companies are going to get into monetizing their excess electricity with partnerships in Bitcoin and crypto mining, sustaining the blockchain. Hey, and guess what? This is not only for Bitcoin. The AI machines, remember all this artificial intelligence and robotics and the chat GPT and the Grok and the smartphones, they all need energy and they all need data. They all need computer systems. So all these computer systems in the background, did you know Amazon, for example? Yes, you can buy stuff on Amazon. Anything you want, you can buy it off of Amazon. But that's not where Amazon makes most of its money. Amazon makes most of its money by selling computer space, by selling, you hear about the cloud, iCloud, and storage in the cloud. It's not in the cloud. It's distributed across the cloud, across the air, but it's stored in data centers, physical computers in physical buildings, in physical warehouses across the world, especially across the United States, Texas, Utah. Data centers, this could be the new frontier for places like the Turks and Caicos, for places like the Bahamas, for places like Bermuda and the Caribbean. I know we have hospitality, but folks, hospitality is going to be virtual, right? So you can go to any island you want and feel like you're there without the mosquitoes. That's another thing I want to talk. I'm not even going to talk about that right now because I don't want to scare you guys to think that people are designing metaverses where you can feel like it's the real thing. It's getting so close to the real experience on a real island in the metaverse where you feel the sun, you feel the mist of the ocean blowing in your face, going on a private yacht in a virtual experience. Oh my goodness. You've seen movies about this. This is not just movies, folks. It is here. It is happening. Thank you for tuning in. This is Charlene. The station is 88.5 FM, The Beat. Charlene with the Smart Beat. So, how do you participate in this new digital experience? It's not just a digital economy. I'm warning you. Everything's going to be digitized. Everything's going to be in the metaverse. Everything's tokenized. Even the electricity that's coming through your walls that you plug into, all of that, you already pay for it. But guess what? Once the power companies figured out that they can partner with the Bitcoiners like they're doing in Texas, like they're doing in El Salvador, like they're doing in China, like they're doing in, I think, Taiwan, Vietnam is where this is very big. In Vietnam, it's an Asian country. They have already partnered. Most of the Bitcoin mining is connected directly to the power companies, because you know what? They're gonna have a special price, a special rate for Bitcoin mining. That's going to be less than the cost that you are paying, but it's still going to bring the price down globally for electricity everywhere. And of course, once we get back into cheaper oil, hopefully electricity prices will come down. You know, they like to raise the rates once the oil goes up. Oh, the price of oil went up. The price of oil went up. Your bill rates is going up. Well, if they charge you for the oil very low when the cost of oil comes down, then you'll see that the price point is changing. But Bitcoin can actually act as a catalyst for reducing the cost of electricity. So 2-3 years from now, when you see that happening in your neighborhood, in your own town, in your own neck of the woods, you'll be like, oh yeah, that girl was talking about that. All these things that I talk about, you'll see it come to pass. I'm usually 5 or 4 years ahead. I know my brain is like looking at what is coming, the prospectus. I should call my show the prospectus. The prospectus is when you look 4 or 5 years ahead, when you look 3 years ahead, 10 years ahead. That's me, Charlene, on the radio, 88.5 FM, The Beat, the smart beat. I have one other thing I want to touch on about this 21 million. So the maximum amount of Bitcoins that can be generated is 21 million. And we're already close to 20 million. So I think some people have worked out that by 2040, we'll be down to the last Bitcoin. 2140 or something like that. Because it infinitely that is going to be cut in half every 4 years. Don't worry about that for today's lesson. The lesson for today is that it will never run out. The price will only change. The amount of Bitcoin you have today, if you have Bitcoin, or if you had Bitcoin 10 years ago, the price keeps changing over time, increasing in the value as more mining, as more computers come online and starts running the code. So if you don't remember anything about what I said, it's not the fact that people are buying Bitcoin or using the Bitcoin or trading the Bitcoin from wallet to wallet. That's not why the price is high. The price is high because more people start mining. More people start downloading the software and running that software on more machines. That gives more value to the price being traded for Bitcoin than the fact that all these big companies are chasing Bitcoin. If you want to look at the financial markets and see on a daily basis, JP Morgan Chase, BlackRock, Fidelity, all these major investment corporations with billions of dollars, they're investing in Bitcoin. But the price is not jumping. If somebody went out, let's just say BlackRock or JP Morgan went out and bought $10 billion worth of Bitcoin, you thought the price of Bitcoin would fly, but it's not flying. It's not flying. Why is it not flying? Because that's already existing Bitcoin that's just moving from one wallet to another. It takes the same amount of electricity to move one Bitcoin as it does to move a million Bitcoins, right? It's the same. It's just a trade. It's just a clicking a button and the validators using up the network. So over time, people are realizing like, shoot, all these big companies coming into the Bitcoin space and buying up Bitcoin, the price should be at $1 million by now. But the thing that we really need to focus on between you and me listening right now on 88.5 FM, The Beat, be smart. Understand that the price of the Bitcoin is more impacted by the amount of electricity being used to generate and support the network. Okay? So if you want to impact the price, go and turn on another 1 million computers. Then you'll see the price go to the moon. Then you'll see the $1 billion Bitcoin. right now, you can put that $1 billion in buying existing coins, or you could put that big $1 billion in investing in more mining computers, more microchips, more data centers rolling into Bitcoin, more electric companies, more power companies coming on and sustaining the Bitcoin network with their excess energy. That is the new frontier, folks, is the Bitcoin mining. And it's not even when we get to 20.9999 million will still be a good day. Even we get to the last Bitcoin, it will still be a good day to start mining, because that's the only profitable thing that you're going to be able to do as an individual, because the story that we cover all the time, and we'll go back to that another day. Let me jump back into the charts and look at what's happening with the major indices. I know Tesla is one of my favorite, and today, tomorrow when the markets open, we will see so the charts for crypto. And why I'm talking about the charts is because the chart for the Bitcoin never stops running. Doesn't matter if it's weekend, doesn't matter if it's Sunday, Monday, any day of the week. Bitcoin, since it started on October 31st, 2008, Bitcoin has not stopped running. The software has not quit. The software has not taken a breath since 2008. And now it's 17 years of Bitcoin. Now we're 2026. The first block of Bitcoin came out. It was running for a while, right? And then we have the first Bitcoin actually generated on January 3 of 2009. So a few months went by, and then the first Bitcoin was issued. The first block was mined, January 3, 2009. So we're 17 years later, and so it has not stopped. So whether it's a weekend or not, that chart is active and alive. Matter of fact, you'll see more activity on Bitcoin on the weekends, because none of the other markets, the stock market is closed, the commodities markets are closed, the ETF and mutual funds are closed. So the action on the weekend or overnight is always in crypto, it's always in Bitcoin. Bitcoin is majority of the ETFs and the mutual funds are now rolling into Bitcoin. So this year will be the year of the monetization from the brokerage houses, from the major corporations rolling into Bitcoin. And I think in the next 2 to 3 years, what I've been talking about today, as far as the electric companies are going to start rolling into Bitcoin, or let me just say, Bitcoin going to start rolling on the grid. So every so many miles or every so many regions, the power companies have what you call the substation. A substation will be collecting the energy that's being generated and figuring out how much electricity to distribute to this neighborhood based on the time of day and based on on what people are using at home or what they're turning on. So the substations, especially like places in Texas, if you're near a substation, that would be a great location to set up Bitcoin mining. So in the past, in the early days, people would be setting up Bitcoin mining in their basements, in their grandma's basement, around the back in the shed, in their garages, at the end of the grid where the electricity is being supplied at the end. But what's going to happen is more and more people are going to find some kind of a substation and set up the Bitcoin mining adjacent, in conjunction, within feet, within a spitting spitting distance of the substation. Now, do not go and spit on the substations. People are going to be setting up mining Bitcoin within spitting distances of the power being generated. The closer you are to the point of generation, or wherever there's a lot of electricity being distributed but not enough people using, that's where Bitcoin comes in. Bitcoin is going to stabilize the grid. So this is the last thing I'm going to say on 88.5 FM today. Bitcoin is going to be the stabilization for the electric grid worldwide. This is Charlene, your host on 88.5 FM, The Beat, The Smart Beat. The next show, I'll go into another topic, learning more about Bitcoin, energy, electricity, and everything in between, AI, tech, the financial markets, investment. But go now, text me 649 441 8805. 88.5 The Beat. This is Charlene with the Smart Beat on 88.5 FM